Hello there, I'm Dr. Cobalt Jackson, and after a brief legal snag in our otherwise blossoming friendship, Meghan and Harry Meghan Markle Windsor have returned to discuss issues as diverse as the release of upcoming books, continued media criticism, and Meghan's recent reaching of a milestone birthday. Meghan, Harry, welcome.
Oh, it's great to be back here. It's great to be back.
Oh, sorry about the litigation.
No problem at all, Harry. Nothing like a refreshing trial to clear the foggy misunderstandings from the air.
Very well said.
And in the spirit of such desmogification, I'd like to ask you about the release of your upcoming book, Harry, or series of books, we're led to believe. Is that correct?
Well, there might be more than one.
The book has been described by yourself, Harry, as a wholly truthful first-hand account of your life.
You know, Harry hasn't really been capable up until this point, to really open up and talk truthfully about his life experiences, right?
Is that something you've encouraged, Meghan?
Oh, she's been a backbone of support. Before meeting my Meghan, I used to spend so much time being happy, I couldn't properly concentrate on my mental health.
Harry?
Encourage? Not just encourage. That's not going far enough. Meghan's been on at me about revealing my side of the story ever since we first met.
That's not true, actually. I've never actively encouraged Harry to open up about his past. I've just been there for him and given him support whenever he feels the need or desire to do so.
Oh, she's never encouraged me, actually. No, never encouraged. She just supported my desire to show that everything's been so unfair.
Well, it's clearly a very personal affair, Harry. Would you be kind enough to share some details of the writing process?
Oh, it's all about diet. Diet and stamina. I awake at 6:30, turn my alarm off, then I sleep through to 9. Then I awake, stretch, then go and have some porridge oats, some apricots and some jasmine tea.
You like Earl Grey too?
Love it. Anyway, after breakfast, I go and do a little bit of yoga. Meghan says my downward-facing dog looks like a poorly erected yurt. In such a sweet way. I have a muffin for 11s, then I hit the writing desk. Thinking cap on, focused eyes.
We've hired someone to write the book.
Oh no, I haven't been on active writing duties, but I do make an effort to sit next to him, and juggle or something while he's writing.
How droll. Penguin, the publishing house, have billed the release as, and I quote, an intimate and heartfelt memoir from one of the most fascinating and influential global figures of our time. And you yourself, Harry, have said about the book, and I quote, I've worn many hats over the years, both literally and figuratively. And my hope is that in telling my story, the highs and lows, the mistakes, the lessons learned, I can help show that no matter where we come from, we have more in common than we think. But what about those who point out that you reside in an opulence far outside the grasp of those who you otherwise have so much in common with?
Oh, it's because they're ignorant. Don't they even know I'm giving the proceeds to charity?
Which is very noble, Harry. Although there have been no declarations as to where the $15 million plus advance is going.
Oh, for Christ's sake, do you know how hard juggling is?
Your eagerly awaited memoir, Harry, has been slated by the Daily Mail, describing it as hypocrisy and proving once again that you live in a world of your own. With Meghan, of course.
We think that just shows that we need to bypass the media, They have an irrational hatred for us, and we can't let that influence the way we present ourselves, our mission.
The fact that the media had been overwhelmingly favourable towards you during your courtship, engagement and early marriage, only changing as your behaviour became increasingly pompous and self-referential notwithstanding, how do you intend to bypass the media, Meghan?
What I mean is writing books, for example, directly communicating with those who we wish to influence.
Yes, although when you publicise the books, Meghan, you'll be using the media to do so. But ignoring that for one moment, are you implying that the people love you, but the media don't?
Got it in one.
Yeah, that's more or less it, you know? The people love us, and they will always love us.
It's funny you say that, Meghan. A YouGov poll back in 2018 placed you as the most popular royals, whereas now you're languishing very close to the bottom, just above Prince Andrew.
Polls are racist.
We've been defamed, you know, unfairly mocked by the media, the right-wing press particularly, you know, anything to the right of Nick Clegg or Don Lemon. They've really gone after us.
Vicious.
They haven't necessarily made things up about us, but they have reported on certain truths which has not helped our perception, you know, the perception of us, right?
Right, so the media are guilty of reporting truthfully of your exploits.
Which really doesn't help.
You know, normal people, you know, like average people, they don't quite understand what's going on in the world around us.
The one we live in.
Yeah, and I can't blame people for their limitations, you know? Not everyone can be special, for instance. But at the same time, when the media report on us and report on me particularly, even truthfully, sometimes it's very jarring to the populace, you know? It really rattles them up.
Oh, they can't just keep their big mouths shut, or at least try to help in this process.
What process is that?
Well, yeah,
Like affecting an augmentation to the white supremacist cesspit we're all about to drown in. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, right? Not everyone can see it. So the media shouldn't be a cause of friction. They should be, if anything, a shock absorber for people like myself.
Oh, you mean they should convey your actions, speeches, inconsistencies, hypocrisies, and dreary saccharine waffle in such a way as to effectively bend the public to your will?
Yeah.
oh, would that be so hard? I mean, Meghan's like a bike. The public are like a bumpy old road. And all the media need to be is a half-decent suspension, so she doesn't feel any pushback as she rides over their lives.
If Meghan is the bike, the public are the road, and the media is the suspension, what are you, Harry?
I'm the juggler.
It's important to keep him occupied.
Well, if the media aren't going to do their job, you know, their sworn duty of giving quasi-royal ex-actresses free rein to lecture an already over-managed populace, then we're just going to have to get ourselves out there and show people what we're all about.
Although, Harry, you had much public support in the US when you first moved there. However, that support has dwindled as you've been given more airtime to speak freely.
Oh, I'm going to regret that.
Your repetitive interviews and performances have exposed your myopic self-entitlement. And as your public exposure has gone up, the line chart of your popularity has gone down.
Oh, line charts are racist.
I've been awfully rude in not wishing you a happy 40th birthday, Meghan.
40. I know. Hard to believe, right?
Impossible, I'd say.
Where are you getting these objects from?
What objects?
You've made 40 a big important number, Meghan. You spent 40 minutes sending compassionate messages to disadvantaged women, and you've asked 40 world leaders, activists and artists to contribute to your initiative. And 4040 is the most dominant feature on the homepage of your Archwell Foundation website.
Oh, that was you. Yeah, I saw we had a visit.
We get lots and lots of visitors. But look, okay, right, you know, I wanted to use this milestone birthday of mine, you know, not just to have a lavish party, which we did, or to, you know, get 25,000 pounds worth of jewelry, which I got, but I want to turn it into a global celebration, you know, of love, compassion.
Oh, she's so amazing, you know. I sometimes think Meghan's like one of those Dickens characters, you know. She settles for so little. A necklace or two, a couple of rings, and a swanky dinner. That's it. And then she's right back thinking of others again.
I see, and all she demands for her modest personal indulgences is a global celebration in her honour. You really are the gift that keeps on giving, Meghan.
Thank you. That's so kind.
Oh, very kind, very kind.
You're one too, Harry, and I mean that. But let's not drown in the eye-swallowed tears of sentimentality, shall we? You recently made a humorous video in celebration of your 40th birthday. You were in it too, of course, Harry, juggling outside the window.
At first I could only juggle 2, but now I can juggle 3.
That's funny once, Harry.
Knowing how scripted and purposeful every pencil placement is when recording a video such as you did, many have noticed the very minimalist, neutral decoration.
We call them receptive colours, that become more colourful through absorbed emotion.
But what about those who say the neutrality of your decoration perfectly mirrors your relevance to the world? Bland, uninspiring, bereft of ideas, and with nothing meaningful to say.
Yeah, given it all that.
Nah, that's fine. It doesn't really bother me. Some people just don't get it, and I was expecting that. It's like I say, you can't change the world faster than it can be changed.
How do you reply to those who say that the very idea of a 40-40 initiative co-aligned with your 40th birthday shows a staggering degree of razor-sharp narcissism delivered with a po-faced sincerity?
We'd say, get yourself a thesaurus. We've heard all those words before.
If it's narcissism to want to make the world a better place, then I'm a narcissist.
That's not narcissism, no.
If it's narcissism to want to spread compassion, then I'm a narcissist.
No, that's not narcissism either.
If it's narcissism to want to make, your birthday the source of change that the world so obviously needs, and always know that you played a big part in that,
Oh, that's the very definition of narcissism.
then I'm a narcissist.
I want to stay on this perception that some have of you, that perception being perfectly summed up by the assumption that your 40th birthday is a significant global event.
Can you think of any bigger? Christmas maybe?
Quite. But to start an initiative on your birthday with aligned numbers assumes it. Would it not have been better, more tactical even, to have assumed a modest demeanour instead?
Meghan's the most modest. And doesn't she know it?
Even if you had planned with your friends, perhaps, to start the initiative, and then you pretended you didn't know anything about it, and they had dedicated it to you as a gift on your birthday. That way making it more about the mission and less about you.
Oh, I can see arguments for and against there.
If they had dedicated it to you, Meghan, it would have implied that love and compassion is what comes to mind when they think of you. But when you start it yourself, well, it becomes very easy to slip on the melted butter and land in the toaster slot of narcissism.
That would all make perfect sense if I was to receive adulation for being front and center of this initiative. But I won't be, I'll be mocked, right? Laughed at, ridiculed, Putting myself at the forefront of this movement, it's going to bring stress and humiliation.
Have you ever considered that is because it is indeed what people think?
No, we just need to do more, like give more. For instance, I appealed to my fans to upload my birthday poem.
Oh, how did that do?
200 uploads on Instagram in the first 24 hours?
Yeah, but things change,
Oh yeah, we're in discussions at the moment about purchasing some likes and shares.
What Harry means is that we are liaising with our PR firm on how to more effectively market our material.
Oh, so a lackluster response to your work, therefore, is only ever considered a communication breakdown rather than a simple judgment on what you're communicating.
Yeah, always.
Oh, it's the best way not to lose faith in the
Turning
world.
once again to your 40th birthday, Meghan, it has been reported that your father sent you 40 roses and a birthday card, but that you didn't respond to him.
Touchy subject.
And although this is an intimate issue and wouldn't usually be the business of the public, it is in this case because you have embraced, indeed encouraged your enhanced exposure whilst simultaneously preaching compassion and forgiveness.
Now that's real juggling.
Making the ethical inequivalence insoluble, impossible to believe, irredeemably irregular. I think we've spoken about this before. When I lack compassion, I don't disregard the concept of compassion, you know? I don't taint its glory. It's just that I want to conserve compassion in the future that I would give, that I would otherwise be prevented from giving if I let certain individuals back into my life. Yes, but what if some say that is just bohemian sophistry, cleverly employed to justify despicable double standards? Yes and no. Ah, yes, the deluded narcissist's favourite reply.
Look, you can't ask geniuses to explain why they're geniuses. Hey, Mozart, Newton, Barack Obama, why are you geniuses? They just show you, by being geniuses. It's not up to us mere mortals to judge or ask questions, just to watch and accept.
Ah, so are you implying that Meghan's a genius?
That's not even up for debate.
A genius is a word used by some, certainly me. But look, the most important thing here, no doubt, is that I uphold the principle of love and compassion and forgiveness. But sometimes that can be best achieved by harboring grudges and vicious resentment. And would it be the same for everyone if they deemed themselves in a similar situation?
That's like comparing apples to oranges.
No. Compassion and forgiveness needs to flourish in others, despite their personal situations or opinions. And that coercion can only come about if I'm here to insist it does.
And if Meghan starts forgiving people, in her own life, it upsets her balance, making her unable to perform her essential role in making everybody else compassionate.
But what about people who continue to say, surely these contrasting narratives effectively destroy your argument? Why can't you, yourself, be more forgiving?
Why did Einstein smoke a pipe? We don't know. We shouldn't question them. They all have their foibles. We should just be grateful they're here to change the world and make it better.
You mentioned Barack Obama before, Harry. We were all rather shocked to see you weren't invited to his 60th birthday bash.
So, we're not going to invite him to our next big party.
I think that Barack probably wanted to keep the spotlight on himself, typical man. But that's understandable, I'm not sure that inviting me would have assisted him in that, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, so you think you'd have stolen his thunder?
Well, look at you. You can't get enough of us, can you?
True. I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. You really are the gift that keeps on giving. Royal experts have claimed that the Obamas didn't invite you to their party because they didn't like you attacking the royal family.
Well, A, I didn't attack them. B, what the hell is a royal expert? And F, they're making stuff up. It's so obvious to see. It's as easy as knowing your ABCs.
I kind of see what you mean about royal experts, Harry, but if not for your aggressive stance against the royal family, can I say that? Aggressive stance?
Yeah, I prefer assertive.
Assertive would be better. Okay, but if not because of your assertive stance against the royal family, why didn't the Obamas invite you to their brazenly maskless, opulently decorated and slavishly catered for 60th birthday bash?
Probably because of our overall behaviour, generally. Racism. Yeah, he didn't want to invite... Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, I always get the hard ones. Oh, I know. Have I already said racism? Oh, I don't know. Next question.
This isn't a quiz, Harry.
Oh, but how I wish it was. In fact, I've got an appearance on the Hall Porters quiz coming up. Can't wait.
Like I've already said, I don't think that Barack would have wanted to risk being upstaged, right? You know? I mean, imagine royalty walking in.
Oh no, please, come on. It's Barack's day. It's Barack's day. You know, you can say what you want. They'll keep coming for us.
It's funny how you rely on the very institution you subtly undermine for the generated intrigue required to keep you meaningful.
Oh, we don't even need or care about the publicity created by our royal status.
Well, then drop the titles.
But then we'd lose our royal prestige, you know? And a lot of the interest people have in us, right?
That doesn't seem to make sense.
Oh, it's called the Markle Paradox.
The Markle Paradox. But if...
I wouldn't even try if I were you. I mean, we've already had great thinkers and mathematicians trying to crack it, but they can't.
Oh, it's just one of those beautiful things that exists, you know, in nature, but forever remains a mystery.
Right. Although it's not as though you've just incidentally held on to the titles. I mean, you've actively fought to retain them and then turned Sussex into a brand.
Yeah, you know, as hard as it was essential, you know? The worst thing that can happen right now is that we would lose our relevance and our influence, you know? Then you'd see the hatred spread. I mean, God, things would really heat up. Too hot to handle.
So you're like a soothing balm that cools the red-hot acid of hate.
Well put. Get this man a coffee. No, a Coke. Oh, an amaretto.
The more relevant you are and remain, the more of a cooling effect you can have on the world. Which means that the more hypocritical you are, the more you wantonly feast on the fruits of royalty whilst simultaneously stamping on the peaches that you can't eat, the more relevant you will remain, which in turn means the more cooling ointment you can apply to this blistering world.
Oh, it's called Markles Law, Moore's Law, Murphy's Law, and Markle's.
Your half-brother, Meghan, Thomas Markle, is about to make an appearance on Australian Big Brother. Is this a foreboding moment for you, considering some of the damning things he's had to say about you in the past?
What do you mean? I don't remember him saying any negative comments.
He's referred to you, Meghan, as a phony, a bully, a jaded, shallow and conceited woman. And he's reported to have warned you, Harry, and I quote, that she'll ruin your life.
Oh, those ones, yeah. Ooh, yeah, bad.
Have you ever heard of antimatter?
Yes, although not in the context of Australian Big Brother.
When someone comes along who's more, you know, magnetically or maybe spiritually connected, you know, connected to the surroundings, there's always some ignorance born alongside.
Oh, I see what she's getting at. Oh, clever.
I mean, some of my family must be viewed in that light, right? And although they are my family, of course, you know, I love them all dearly. But the best way to show them that is to completely cut them out of my life.
It's all part of Markle's Law.
This makes most sense when you open your eyes, you know, right? And your mind's eye to the requirement of balance in the universe. And realize that they are a necessary counterbalance to my wisdom.
God pays his debts.
They've been sent to try me, you know, literally.
Is it a coincidence, do you think, that a large portion of the general public completely agree with Thomas Markle Jr.'s appraisal of you?
Coincidences are racist.
No, Harry.
Oh, it's unconscious bias.
The trick is, Harry, to only use those discussion-ending labels during realistic and potentially digestible scenarios, not palpably ludicrous ones.
Oh, that's some useful stuff. How do you spell useful? And stuff?
It's not a coincidence, it's a pervading narrative, you know? Darkness spreads darkness just as light spreads light, right?
Goosebumps.
Your family, therefore, are the antimatter to your truth and kindness?
Oh, nice way to put it.
But how do you reply to those who say that even the mere suggestion of such an explanation in response to your half-brother's criticism suggests most strongly that you're penning your reply whilst locked inside the microwave oven of narcissism? I'd like to return once again to your father, Meghan. He's had a lot to say in recent weeks, such as that you're telling lies, and that you've only started telling lies since you met Harry.
That really riles me up. It really does.
Leaving us to decipher whether he meant that Harry has brought about this change in you through bullying indoctrination, or that you've only discovered the potential power of a lie ever since having a stage large enough upon which to perpetuate it. I always tell the truth, always. It's probably my biggest fault, in fact. But, the truth will always be seen as a lie when it's lies that run the world. Mr. Markle also claimed that you didn't contact him whilst he was in hospital, that you didn't care. That's not true, We did care, but it's a delicate situation, right?
Look, my Meghan's amazing, okay? And he was nasty to my Meghan. She's like a fine porcelain. Takes time to repair.
Yeah, and what's more delicate than fine porcelain? He also contradicted the notion that you received any racism whilst growing up. How do you define racism, By what everyone can understand and agree upon? Or by those special few who have got the ability to see the ghosts of racism haunting every known corridor of comprehension? The first one.
Oh, these are the fundamentals, man. You shouldn't be getting these wrong.
No, because that way racism continues to flourish. Because when you remove the actual existing racism, the ghosts are there to come and take their place. How would you do things different then, Meghan, blessed as you are with this additional foresight, to prevent these racist apparitions haunting our entire interaction base? Stop it at the source, There are still things that we're allowed to say that should not be permitted in modern discourse. So if we can prevent racist and prejudiced ideas developing by cutting out the cancerous cells right at the beginning, we could be living in a racial harmony within months, Oh, you'd set tighter controls on speech.
Stop people saying it, then in the end, they won't even be able to think it.
What could go wrong? People talk about free speech and its supposed sanctity, always skewing it in such a way that it questions anyone who attempts to put some limits on it.
It's bonkers.
I see, Meghan, but who do you suppose should be given authority to define acceptable and unacceptable speech? Experts.
Look, gardeners tend to the soil to improve the flower beds. Chefs add spices to their sauces to improve the flavour. And Meghan and people like her tend to the speech we use to improve society.
Oh, you see yourself as one of the aforementioned experts? Well, if the shoe fits.
No. Oh, no.
This ties nicely into the rumours, speculation, anticipation, and sheer horror that you might run for US president.
Thomas Markle has said that he thinks it must be a joke.
Look, does he even know what a joke is? You know? Knock knock.
Who's there?
The interrupting sheep.
Interrupting sheep.
Ah! Now that's a joke.
Omid Scooby and Carolyn Durand have released an updated version of your glowing biography, Finding Freedom.
Yes!
And from it, we learned a little more about your self-entitled and petulant outlook and how you are prioritizing your mental health by distancing yourself from toxicity. And most dauntingly, predicting, and I quote, an era of visibility this autumn with a more intentionally public life. We had no direct influence on the book, right? However, yes, that's completely true.
Like I've said previously, I found more time to concentrate on my mental health by freeing up some of the other time that I wasted being happy.
When you begin living this evidently more visible public life in the deluded spectacle it will undoubtedly be, will you still complain about intrusions into your private lives?
Oh, absolutely.
Will not tolerate, the grubby exposure of our private lives? But isn't that the very essence of your public life? We have a right, to be left alone, to enjoy a normal life, whilst simultaneously reaping the benefits of our fame. But these two intentions seem inconsolable.
I think you're forgetting Markles Paradox.
Ah, yes, of course. The book concludes that despite the toll it's taken on your family, you have no regrets about the actions you've taken. No, of course not. I mean, what did you think I was going to be? An insignificant duchess living in a cottage? I know, a cottage. Never. I mean, that was not going to be my fate. The conclusion also stated was, and I quote, "What began as a fairy tale romance became a story that reinvented the genre. A self-made, independent woman playing an equal role alongside her knight."
My Meghan is so independent-minded. Sometimes we go on a date and I don't even need to be there.
And they were some of our best dates, I mean, we were together in spirit, even though we were apart in physicality. And we feel much closer that way. Together in spirit, apart, closer. Oh, now I get it. Are you ever concerned about being branded a pair of vacuous nobodies, trading on the coinage of notoriety, clipped from clumps of fool's gold?
Ooh, coins clipped from clumps.
That's never even entered my mind, I've been concentrating on mental health projects and clamping down on hate speech and
Commercializing the clothes she wears, then selling them for scandalous amounts on the website.
oh, no one's suggesting that you don't work very hard at what you do, but more that what you do doesn't work very well.
You've got to be perceptive, Keep your eyes open.
And seeing everything that's going on, not just what you want to see, ignoring obvious truths. And it doesn't bother either of you that many people are laughing at you. There's nobody laughing at us.
Nobody.
Not at all.
None.
You've been criticized, Harry, about taking a private jet home to California after competing in a charity polo match. That is, of course, despite lecturing the world on climate change.
Oh, what difference does one journey make?
But if everybody used that argument, Harry, nothing would change, would it? Besides, the flight came 3 months after your infamous interview with Oprah, where you stated that the climate crisis was one of the most pressing issues facing the world. Oh, it is.
I need to be places, right? And what do you think I'm going to do? Walk?
Okay, but how many passengers could the jet seat?
Oh, only a few.
It was a 20-seater.
Yeah, about 20.
Yeah, but we're not comparing like for like. I mean, don't make Harry get out the apples and oranges again.
We need to be able to fly around the world from city to city,
From glorious destination to glorious destination.
warning people about the dangers of fossil fuels.
And the immediate threat we will all face if we continue to spew millions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
In a giant dust cloud, choking all the caterpillars.
Sacrificing our children's future for short-term conveniences.
And an unlimited supply of M&M peanuts.
And we think we need to spread that message, all around the globe.
All the way from California to like Los Angeles.
And these blazing beacons of bizarre hypocrisy don't bother you because...
Of the Markle
Paradox, yes, I remember. But despite that, how do you justify flying a 20-passenger private jet, spilling millions of gallons of CO2 into the atmosphere for a polo match?
Do you want to tell him?
No, you tell him. Go on, after you.
It's been discovered, by our experts that CO2 can be absorbed by smugness.
So even though we pollute on private jets occasionally, we are smug 24/7, easily achieving net neutrality.
Right.
And it's ironic, because mathematically, the smuggest people on the planet are most likely to use a substantial private jet for a solo journey.
The circle of life.
We're going to end today's interview by asking a few questions that have been sent in by our viewers. The first is from Mr. Torpedo, Clarence Torpedo.
Oh, great name.
He wanted to know, Harry, whether you regretted vacating a public position that prevented you from offering personal opinions, now you've found out how difficult they are to defend.
I haven't got any idea what he's on about.
He might be referring to, for instance, calling the First Amendment bonkers. When you say that in the cocky and brash manner that you did, you are, well, sort of obliged to provide a deep explanation for your view.
Oh, no, I didn't have a deep explanation.
Yes, that came across.
It's more of an insight.
Yeah, it's more of an insight, actually.
A capacity to latch on, instinctively to the myriad complexity of wokeism, rendering it a clearer crystal and bending the light more accurately.
So it's all clear, illuminated, amazing. It's bonkers.
Your answer to Clarence is that you have an inner orb of crystallized clarity that, in its refraction of the light of everyday existence, creates a more accurate portrayal of reality, excusing you from the usual requirements of evidence and explanation.
That's beautifully described, actually. But that inner orb of crystallized clarity, it doesn't exist in Harry.
What? Little old me? Nah.
But in me, me. Harry showed some sensitivity to it, right? Like a recognition of it when he chose me to be his spiritual guide.
Mrs. Felina Simile wants to know whether the spark that was there when you first met is still burning as bright.
Oh, it's exactly the same for me now as it always was in the beginning. Absolutely.
And you, Harry? Harry, is the spark still there for you?
Oh no, even more so.
The next question comes from Mr. Sebastian Faultline. He wants to ask, primarily of you, Meghan, whether the image of your aging father pleading to see his grandchild after recovering from a serious illness evokes any sympathy from you.
Sympathy and empathy, they are essential ingredients for a happier society, you know? It's the only way we can improve it. And I am full of both.
Full to the brim.
But he's just one man, you know? Just one individual.
Who's been in the wrong on more than one occasion, thank you.
And he is nothing but a, drain on my abundant supply of compassion and kindness.
Criminal.
Yes, Meghan, but he's still your father. I mean, he's made mistakes, granted, but doesn't he deserve some sympathy and forgiveness? You know, he fathered you, brought you up, paid for your education. Although you deny that, he claims he has documents to prove it.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into that, It's private.
You seem to be pivoting with a staggering inconsistency on what you declare to be private and what you deem essential to rub in the already tired faces of the public.
2 words. Markles Law.
Oh, yes.
Look, to answer that question honestly, and with the sincerity I'm known for, of course I feel sympathy for my father. But to give to him is to take from the universe, right? And I think we can all agree that the universe needs me now more than ever. And I'm just not that selfish, right?
By prioritizing ambiguous global endeavors over localized accountability, you truly are a shining example of wokenomic hypocrisy.
Oh, it all fits in perfectly with the theory of general workativity.
We're going to go to a question now from Oscar Knight. He wants to know if you are happy with the photograph on the Time magazine front cover.
Yeah, I thought it was really beautiful. A lot of deep symbology.
Such as?
Well, I'm more to the center than Harry is, and we're completely equal heights, even though Harry's significantly taller than me in reality. Also, I'm in front of Harry, and I think that symbolizes leadership, and that's a real rallying cry for feminism all around the globe.
Oh, I was just happy to play a part, I'm a strong man.
Indeed, although many have asked why you looked like Meghan's hairdresser.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Well, consider this question here from Heather Field, who asks why you, Harry, looked like Meghan's cis-male, genderqueer hairdresser in that profound moment that precedes his declaration that your hair looks divine.
Oh, Meghan and I discussed this. I mean, she was furious.
No, Harry, I wasn't. I've never heard it before.
Oh no, remember, you went off on one about them missing the feminist symbology?
Like I said just moments ago, I've never even heard the hairdresser comment.
Well, Time magazine tweeted that in a world where everyone has an opinion about people they don't know, the Duke and Duchess have compassion for people they don't know. They don't just opine, they run towards the struggle. Well, on that subject, Raymond Richtenberger would like to know, are you embarrassed about the words written in the Time magazine tweet, particularly that they don't just opine, they run towards the struggle?
Embarrassed? I mean, what? Did Raymond ask whether we were embarrassed?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's a brave thing to do, right? Run towards the struggle, which Harry and I certainly do.
And it's very difficult.
Well, let's reply to that with another question. This is from Barbara Blister from Bicester. She asks why you have so much compassion for those you don't know, but less for some of the people you do.
I mean, who have we ever injured or insulted?
The royal family, Piers Morgan, multiple newspapers, both of your families, the unvaccinated, anyone who voted for Donald Trump or Brexit, and anyone who falls outside of the guilt-free guidelines of wokologically authorised opinion.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah, but who else?
Penelope Blanchflower wants to know why you both look like computer animations.
Yeah, okay, we had a little bit of digital smoothing, but I mean, come on. I mean, we're 37 or 40. I mean, that's a combined age of,
There was very minimal editing done on that photo, right? I just think maybe there's a little bit of jealousy around because Harry and I have such enviable complexions. So they always want to imply that it's photoshopped and not, the product of a healthy diet and a clear mind.
that's a combined age of 83.
And
Continuing on with our questions from viewers, Anne-Marie McMayweather from Windlesham would like to ask, returning to the Time magazine front cover, why you, Harry, agreed to make yourself look so weak, insignificant, and made of plasticine.
What? You mean in comparison to my Meghan and her strength and significance? Big crime.
Yes, but you have to admit, you wore black, sat with one feeble arm resting on her shoulder, with her standing in front of you, and your face photoshopped out of the realm of the animate.
I wore white, to stand out, which would be a boost for all the women out there, a strong message.
And I was part of that.
I didn't want women and girls to think of men as their protectors, so I didn't let Harry's left arm or hand come around my waist or my shoulder. I just let him dangle there, like a giant ginger epaulette, which makes him look weak and insignificant in comparison, which is not an attack on Harry. I mean, he's great. But an important redressal of ingrained stereotypes.
I mean, my Meghan is front and center of this movement, She's changed me. Do you know how much time I used to waste being happy before Meghan showed me how to properly concentrate on my mental health?
The difference is stark, Harry.
Laughing, joking, representing the royal family around the world. I was completely unaware of this ugly mental health thingy inside me.
Yeah, I mean, he was oblivious to how he'd been mistreated, and how he was made to play a role that was completely in opposition to his principles.
And we found out, this is amazing, we had virtually the same principles on everything. Amazing, isn't it?
Incredible, Harry. So Harry agreed, as Anne-Marie put it, to look weak and insignificant in that particular photo to help bolster women's causes all around the globe.
Universe, maybe.
Ironically, making him a very strong man.
I'm a strong man.
Well, I'm sure that's what most people thought when they first saw the Time magazine front cover, Harry. But not Ted Turtle from Teddington. He wants to know why you look like a frightened child peeking out whilst clinging to his parents' leg.
Well, there are a couple of massive wasps out there.
Let's get back to answering some questions from our viewers, shall we? Marcus Broughton asks, why do you and all the other 33rd degree members of the Wokerati continue to use the term hate when you actually mean dislike?
No, we mean hate.
That question should be a hate crime itself, or at least a non-crime hate incident.
Yes, but how would you reply to Marcus if he said that by replacing the word hate for the more accurate word dislike, it becomes a non-crime dislike incident, making you appear immediately foolish?
It shows the power of words and language, right?
Usually the same thing, but yes.
Yeah, we dislike because it's full of hate, right? I mean, the word dislike implies that the power of definition lives independently in each individual.
Whereas we know it lives in the mysterious collective that only some of us have communion with, such as yourself, Meghan. It's the only way I'll get work.
Hate is out there, It's completely unamazing. And when it hits you, makes you want to sob for hours.
You're saying that the word dislike convinces us as individuals that we can escape the oppression of hate by simply refusing to use that term and instead learn to deal with criticism better.
Yeah, but what if you were attacked with a gun?
That's just a crime, Harry. That's been covered by law for years. I think what Harry's trying to say is that passively enacted microaggressions, coupled with online social media abuse, feels like you're being attacked with a gun. And, surely, if you're being attacked with a gun, right, that's a hate crime. But once again, the threadbare analogy of the gun is symptomatic of the overall trend towards victimhood and the expectation that the world should adapt to us rather than we adapt to it.
The cornerstone of good mental health.
Which in itself has been a direct cause of mental health disease. An individual's personal dislike about something can be dealt with, brushed aside, and with it, 99% of the hate existent in the dusty texts of wokological wisdom. White men wag finger
at finger-wagging wokesters.
Finger-wagging stops. Is that a haiku?
Yeah, we've got this new habit of summing things up in haiku.
It's a more spiritual way to communicate.
A spirit disrobed
by gentle Japanese verse.
Shivering naked.
And another one. I have to admit, they're not bad.
Oh, thanks. You're just as nice as Boris Johnson.
At least, I'd hope. But returning to Marcus's point.
Oh, him again.
The entire edifice of elucidation encapsulated in the emotional evaluation of bothersome behavior is irreparably eroded if we simply replace the word dislike for the word hate. Yeah, but that would be the incorrect term. It's hate. But, for instance, at the National Television Awards, your interview with Oprah, when put up on the screen, was roundly booed.
Racists.
And this particular audience would usually be considered a stronghold for the lefty gobbledygook you attempt to indoctrinate us with.
I haven't heard gobbledygook for years.
Yet even this audience disliked you. Yeah, but in a hateful way. Some, perhaps. But I think Marcus's point is that although some of the booers might hate you, they all dislike you, making hate the potential and dislike the essential, meaning that the term dislike is a more accurate description of why they booed.
Yeah, but then you can't get anything done. Like you said, if it was called a dislike crime, everyone would just say, hey man, that's life. Get over it.
Exactly. Terminology.
Of lies that never defy.
Markles Paradox. You're pretty good at these. Continuing with questions from our lovely viewers, Mr. Kieran Spatula would like to know, do you still have date nights? No.
Oh, well, we do, but they're spiritual date nights.
Oh, yes, when you chime in a mystic harmony which floats untethered by the requirement of physical interaction.
Sorry, what was that 12th word again?
That's exactly right. Right? Sometimes I actually feel closer to Harry when I'm not with him and I'm with my friends or Hollywood A-listers. Right? Must be pretty highbrow.
Oh, they sound like they really know what they're talking about.
I'm sure, Harry. The next question comes from a Mrs. Phyllis Satchel. She would like to know whether referring to Archie as a boy is indoctrinating him into a gender stereotype.
We wouldn't even care if Archie was a transgender or a pangender or anything.
Oh, no one said you wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Carry on.
We're going to do everything we possibly can to prevent Archie or Lilibet adopting a gender identity just because of social pressure or social norms.
Oh, yeah, social norms. Yeah, meanies.
Gender is a fluid concept, right? And just because Archie is using male pronouns now doesn't mean he always will. He'll be 6 before you know it. And he might decide he's a she, her.
Sie, sir.
Viver.
Sie, sim.
See, sir. You know, or he might decide to change back and forth, you know, for all the available options. Many more of which I'm sure will be added in the coming years.
I no doubt there are hundreds, thousands of Swiss sexuals being discriminated against right now, as we speak, by the lack of proper recognition of their identity.
Swiss sexuals?
Oh, it hasn't been invented yet. It's those who are only attracted to people living in Switzerland.
Ah, the LBGT flag. LGBTQ. Oh, sorry. Since when?
Ever since the Queers Revolt of 2015.
That's going to make it a little harder to remember. But that's the point. It's like a psychological reparation for the pain that non-binary people have had to suffer for years.
What, hard to remember? What, a 5-word acrine, a thingy, you know? LGBTQ.
They didn't have anyone celebrating their identity, you know? They didn't feel safe with who they were. I mean, many people didn't even know that they were non-binary until they were told about it when they were impressionable youths and found out how much more important they'd be than by simply remaining a he or a she.
I mean, I still can't get over how people think that LGBTQ is hard to remember. I mean, don't make me break out the LGBTQIP2SAA dog collar Batman symbol.
Meghan, you recently wrote to Speaker Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think that parental paid leave is on the cusp of becoming a national reality. You know, it's not about right or left. It's about right or wrong. You know, it's about putting families above politics.
Which is more or less word for word what you wrote in the letter, Meghan. And did you write the letter yourself?
Yeah, you know, almost completely all of it.
I chipped in a word or two.
And what do you mean by putting families above politics?
Well, what I mean is giving families proper paid leave so they can build relationships with their, you know, potentially non-binary newborns. You know, there's nothing complicated or confusing about it.
Okay, and who would pay the wages of the parents who are on leave?
Either the employer or the government, you know? There's plenty of money out there that can be found for non-essential indulgences, but what, we can't find it for families?
Oh no, I'm not arguing against your policy positions at all, Meghan. You know, I'm as communist as they come. What I'm wondering is, how are we going to put families above politics by introducing sweeping legislation?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, you're calling for the government to either supply or to force businesses to supply paid leave to all its employees, both of which are nakedly political.
This is politics for families rather than politics for politics' sake.
Very good, Harry. Well done.
Yes, well, Carolyn Prendergast asks, are you not concerned that with every new right afforded to every citizen?
Let me just stop you there, because I believe paid leave should be available to all undocumented citizens too.
That it will eventually bankrupt the nation.
So what? Are we to dispense with rights now?
Well, Carolyn might say that a right is something that no one else has to give you. Freedom of speech, association, freedom of protest, for instance. I mean, you could theoretically and conceivably have those rights anywhere on earth, unless they're taken away.
About time.
Whereas you can't have a right to access a mutual fund that doesn't exist. I mean, paid parental leave for all would be a government intervention to which you would or wouldn't have access to, not a fundamental right, Carolyn might say.
Yeah, but you'd have a fundamental right to use it. You know, I really don't see the difference.
In the letter, Meghan, you said that many of our economic systems are past their expiration date. And, as you well know, too many Americans are forced to shortchange themselves when it comes to what matters to them.
Oh, that's one of my favourite parts of the letter, actually. It's amazing.
The economic systems that made people rich in the past, right? That are actually preventing people becoming rich now.
They gotta go.
Would these be the same economic systems that have sustained royal wealth and allowed you to make a 9-figure sum for your work on Netflix and Spotify?
Yeah, but we want to make sure that we're one of the last ones.
Yeah, you've got to close the door at some point.
Mr. Malcolm Ecstasy asks of you, Meghan, whether in hindsight it was classless, self-absorbed and downright unfair to subject the children in a Harlem school to your book, The Bench, whilst visiting.
Unfair? Subjecting? Oh, hey kid, want a sweet? Oh, that's harsh. Hey kid, want to go to the fun fair? Oh, how cruel. Oh, hey kid, want to hear some spellbinding children's literature? It's hardly Oliver Twist.
I really haven't had anyone to read it to. And then this thought just came to me. Why not read it to the kids at the school that we're going to visit in Harlem?
Mr. Ecstasy is probably being a tad curt in his manner with that question, although The Bench was poorly reviewed throughout the whole of the media. But surely you would accept that it does come across as rather conceited and full of oneself to go there and actually read your own book.
Oh, yeah, perhaps you should have read one of the classics. Or even better, one by an extremely talented but underprivileged child's writer. I love your book. I love the book. How many times have I got to say? I love The Bench.
We all do, Harry. But Mr. Jeremy Weathervane wants to ask about the faux American accent you used when talking to crowds in New York City.
I don't even know what y'all talking about.
What exactly does Mr. Weathervane want to ask about Harry's accentuation shift?
Is that a thing?
Yes, Harry.
He asks more precisely whether you have any idea how ridiculous it comes across to 90% of us watching.
Yeah, but it's in the 10% where the power lies.
No, Harry, you're getting it all wrong. What you gotta remember is, what you gotta accept is that Harry was very spiritually damaged by his previous life, but before he met me.
GSH, grievous spiritual harm.
Yeah, sometimes Harry tries a little bit too hard to fit in, so that he might end up, copying people's accents or, allowing people close to him to completely control his life. And all of his susceptibilities come about through neurological damage caused by his obstructed expression whilst he was caged in his previous royal life, in the royal household.
Arthur Sightful asks why you, Meghan, have a tendency to overspeak but undersay.
Yeah, which gives us the benefit of a glorious melody for every truth.
When I speak, it kind of unfolds, right? With lots of purposeful pauses and terms like, and right, which kind of pads things out while I'm waiting for the next, moment, to hit me, and for the words to come, and for the sentence to continue.
Oh, it really is something to behold, Meghan. So your answer to Mr. Sightful's question is because you don't really know what you're going to say and you just speak whatever pops into your head.
Bingo.
But that's only when I'm answering a question whilst unprepared, If I know what the question is going to be, I follow the script perfectly, Oh God, yeah, everything I say is perfectly scripted.
Like a glove.
And even when it is scripted, I don't want to state anything that can be pushed back against too hard. So, even when it is scripted, those statements usually say, very little, right?
Right. So whether scripted or off the cuff, they are more often than not purposefully ambiguous.
Right. Absolutely. And if I want to make a real difference, I'll write to important people directly so that the common people themselves can't get in the way of me trying to improve their lives.
Even if it's against their will?
Oh, yeah.
Classy. Carrying on with our questions from audience members tuning in at home, Mrs. Dolly D. Dollops would like to know, was it wise to wear a $7,000 outfit to a school for underprivileged kids when you were visiting New York City?
I don't really understand the question.
Oh, it seems quite simple. Does wearing such expensive attire to a school for underprivileged children strike a jarring note?
What difference does it make what clothes I wear?
Oh, what does Dolly expect? For my Meghan to dress like a tramp? Like one of those people that our security guards so effectively keep away from our delicate sense of smell?
Well, no, but what I think she's trying to say is,
I mean, I really don't get this. I mean, what does Dolly expect? My Meghan to wear normal clothes and sell off all of her expensive outfits, donating the proceeds to the school? Or something?
no, I don't think that suggestion is implicit in that question at all. However, many observers might say that to do that would be more consistent with your endlessly repetitive protests at inequality. That would seem virtuous were they not so saccharine.
Yeah, I think that would be taking the easy way out, It's not really for individuals like us to be giving our personal money, And we really haven't got that much. I mean, nowhere near as much as we'd like. Our position can be used more effectively by bringing attention to issues and, demanding that world governments get together to find unilateral, solutions to the problems faced by those who are disadvantaged, in some way.
Look, we bring the attention, then a couple of champagne-swilling galas later, and a charity is formed, run by experts who are really smart people, and we know how smart they are because of how much they get paid, often for doing very little, actually. It's amazing.
And real change can be made when governments start to subsidize and donate to these organizations, and millions of pounds of taxpayers' money can finally be utilized, to fix the problem properly.
Look, it all started by us going there, and seeing these poor people, and interacting the best we can, It doesn't matter that things never get any better for them, no matter how much money's put in, and conceivably sometimes even worse.
I mean, that just shows you how deep the problem is. I mean, we've only scratched the surface of the issues that we're trying to address. I mean, we've disturbed the rupture and the pain started pouring out. But before, we weren't even acknowledging it.
Oh, no, I can't hear you. No.
Succinctly put, Harry.
Look, we think it's better to suffer now and actually deal with the problems rather than just pretending everything's okay.
Sometimes you're better off just squeezing the pimple.
It's the way we can bring about a better world, right? It looks a bit silly when only one of us does it, Harry. What, you're ignoring me now?
No, not at all.
That was a video. If you want to see any more of this mad lot, it might be worth hitting the notification bell and subscribing, liking and sharing the channel. Thanks.